All right, it's 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Roll call, Mrs. Smith.
Present. This conference will now be recorded.
And we'll try that again. Call the meeting to order, 7 o'clock. Roll call, Mrs. Smith.
Present.
Ms. Riley.
Present.
All right, thank you. We're going to jump right into it then. Department heads and committees. Matt Canis from the Health Department. Matt, any relevant updates for us?
Yeah, just a brief update. So as of right now, in the town of Raynham, with 34 positive cases that have been reported since the first case, of course. Several of those have been considered recovered, within 2 additional that were considered recovered today. 14 of those 34 are from Life Care. In regards to Life Care, the National Guard was there this afternoon. We received notification after the fact. While they were there, they tested only 25 of the residents. The testing criteria mandated by DPH is that in order to test any of the residents, they have to have at least one symptom or be considered close contact, so such as a roommate of a resident that's tested positive. We should have those results of the testing back within 48 hours, so I would assume by Thursday. I do know Life Care is currently working on setting up a particular unit that will be exclusive to COVID residents, so they are working on that right now. The state has set up a resource phone line for families with someone who is in one of the long-term care facilities if they have any questions. I don't have that phone number in front of me, but it is available on the MDPH website, and I will tomorrow get that on our website as well. The state issued new guidance within the last 24 hours for the long-term care nursing facilities in the state on how to respond and deal with COVID-19 within their facilities when they have someone who's tested positive. What Raynham has put into place, what we put into place with Life Care the end of last week, exceeds the state's guidance, and Life Care is following our guidance at this time. Just as a couple of notes, the next week and a half to 2 weeks, it's predicted that Massachusetts will peak. So the next 2 weeks is going to be very critical. So people need to be mindful to really do their best to stay home and be mindful of their social distancing and personal hygiene. And just lastly, I talked to Raynham Veterinary Clinic today, Dr. Reimsnyder, and we have decided that the rabies clinic will be postponed until further notice. Other than that, I have no other information, sir.
Thank you. Any questions for Matt, Marie?
I don't have any questions, but thank you, Matt. You're doing a wonderful, wonderful job, and I hope everybody heeds to what you have just said.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Riley, anything?
I would just echo Mrs. Smith's comments. Matt, you're doing an awesome job. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Jim Donovan, our police chief. Jim, anything for us? Okay, I don't think Jim is on.
I'm on. Yep, I'm on.
All right. Anything for us?
No, not really. We're doing well. We're doing the best we can to mitigate getting it into this department. And so far, we've been doing okay.
Good, thank you. Any questions for the chief?
No, keep it up, Jim.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Riley, anything?
No, just again, thank you, Chief.
All right. Chief LaSiver of the Fire Department. Brian, anything?
I would just echo Chief Donovan's statement. We're doing all right. We did get on a positive note, we did get a shipment from MEMA delivered by the National Guard today, some more masks and gowns, some protective equipment, so that's good. And the chief and Matt, I think we talk to each other every day, if not multiple times a day, so we're all in the same communication loop.
Good, thank you. Any questions for Brian, Marie?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Yeah, no, and just to both chiefs and all of the people in your department, you are our hometown hero. We greatly appreciate all of you.
Thank you. Town Administrator's report, Mr. Waters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Employees have been coming into the office to take care of routine work. The county has been taking care of expenses, and Treasurer Collector's office has been taking care of payroll. Two important things. Mail's been being picked up, answering voicemails, and taking care of some backlog work. I've been also maintaining regular office hours, and most of my various meetings that had not involved in direct town employees have taken place online, such as this one. On Thursday, March 2nd, I hosted a call between the department heads and Joe Emerson, our labor attorney, to explain the new Federal Families First Coronavirus Response Act, the FFCRA, which deals with expanded leave requirements surrounding the COVID-19 health and family affairs. On the same day, I also attended another webinar with Bob Iafrey and myself, with Serped and our team members, talking about the upcoming master plan and our path forward. That item's on the agenda for tonight. And then Mike Halen has been working with the boards and committees to set up town meeting and trainings. I'd like to thank him and our IT director, Tim, for their work that they've done getting these meetings up and running. It will be a good thing resuming normal business. And then our next scheduled Selectmen's meeting is going to be Tuesday the 14th at 7 p.m., presumably right here, channel, same bat time. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions for Graham, Mrs. Smith?
No, I do not. Keep up the good work, Graham.
Ms. Riley?
Same here. Thank you, Graham.
Thank you.
Selectmen's report, Mrs. Smith?
Well, I really don't have anything to report. I'm still at home, like everybody who isn't first responders should be. Am I breaking up? Excuse me, that was
You were, but you're back in now.
Okay, good. I am staying home like everybody who is not a first responder should, and hopefully they will heed Matt's directions and do what he says. This is going to be a terrible couple of weeks, but I have no other business.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Smith. Ms. Riley?
I just want to report that I confirmed today with the members of the RAVE Organization's Executive Committee, and salute to our Veterans Committee. And we have decided that, fortunately, we are canceling what would have been our 8th annual Memorial Day parade. Right now, obviously, parades are not allowed under the state of emergency. Hopefully, by the end of May, that won't be the case, but I'm sure we'll still be practicing some form of social distancing at that time, and even time to prepare and plan. So we will cancel this year, not ask for a parade permit, but plan to be back next year, bigger and better than ever. However, we've also decided that we will go forward with our flag decorating program. If our highway department and fire department can assist us with the large flags, that would be great. If that's not possible, we will still put out our small flags and hopefully get everybody in a patriotic mood, because our members will be Raynham strong.
Good. Thank you, Ms. Riley. Anything else?
I just want to mention, too, that RAVE's volunteer service scholarship applications for graduating high school seniors are still available through April 15th. That's the deadline. They can be accessed by ravevolunteercoordinator@gmail.com. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Riley. I just have one thing on the report that I would like the board to discuss, because personally I need some clarity on it. Last week we voted on a operational plan beginning today moving forward. Yesterday, one of the members of the board had some additional insight on it and asked for a proposed change. In speaking with the administrator, I said he could put together a proposal. We got that today, and I have some pretty significant concerns with it that I wanted to discuss with the board and see if we can hammer out a framework moving forward. Last week we had voted on staff working 24 hours a week on a rotating basis to resume operations of the town. Since that time, the town administrator has put out a proposal where, in my opinion, it does not have any continuity, and it's a little too generic, not just for my liking, but I think what should be acceptable for the public. Every department right now, as it stands, is going to have different hours. In the proposal, no hours of operation is stipulated, and it's not every department being covered. I think it's our obligation as the co-chief executives of the town to put together a proposal and have it up for public consumption for our employees as well as our residents and businesses, so they know when and who they can call if they need assistance in the town. I don't think it's sufficient to say that on a Thursday somebody will be there, because I don't know if that's 8:30 to 4:30. I don't know if that's 9 to 1. There's nothing on here, for example, for the health department. There's nothing on here for conservation. And last week I put together what I felt to be a thoughtful plan. Additional information has come to light given the gravity of the situation. And while I have no objection to changing that plan, I think the residents and businesses of Raynham deserve a plan that is more thoughtfully considered and can be disseminated to the public. So again, they can know when and who to contact if they need resources from the town.
Well, I've read over the operating plan, and if you just read the first part of it, I think it's quite clear. I personally believe that every department head should maintain their own office and have somebody there at least every day. But let them be the people who decide who and when they should be there. And there's always somebody in the department. They can answer any question that anybody might call. They're there to answer the phone. I don't understand what kind of business could possibly have to be done at this point in time. I mean, if you needed a birth certificate or a death certificate or something like that, that can be done over the phone. If you need the building department, they're there to answer any questions, and most of their things are online if you need a permit.
So I think the point that I'm trying to make, if you read this, it has nothing to do with the first section, it has to do with the second section. So if you talk about the building department, for example, it says Tuesday and Thursday and available as needed. So that doesn't give us the hours that people are going to be there. That's the stuff that I'm looking for. I think that some business is continuing to happen. We have businesses that are still open in the town of Raynham. We have residents who still reside in the town of Raynham. And all I'm looking for, and I think it's a simple request, is clear hours for every department. So we know, and the residents and businesses know, when these offices are open. In addition to that, as I said, there's 2 departments that aren't even listed on here.
Mr. Chairman, does every department, I would assume every office has an answering machine? So that if someone were not...
They do, but I don't know about the board, but I've got emails this weekend from people saying that voicemails have been full and they haven't been getting return calls. Now, I'm not putting the blame on anybody because our directive wasn't to check messages. But if we're going to go to more of a skeleton thing, I think we have to have a clean and concise policy in place, and we don't have that right now.
Well, I don't understand it. The office is open. Everybody knows the office is open from 8:30 to 4:30. According to what this is reading, that somebody is going to be there every single day.
That's not correct.
No, wait a minute. The clerk says the clerk's office will be open Monday to Friday, regular business hours. I mean, what more can she do? Does she have to wait from 8:30 to 4:30? If she says what?
That's the town clerk's office. What about every other department? The clarity that the town clerk provided is the clarity I'm looking for every department. I'm not saying...
Assessors, Joe, the assessors say the same thing.
Can you please look at the entire proposal and tell me if it says it for every department? Because the proposal I got doesn't say that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just in relation to the health department, I did relay that we would be available at least guarantee one person in the office during all regular business hours, Monday through Friday. If that helps you at all, sir.
No, and I appreciate that, and I think that's part of my frustration as well. We got a proposal that was incomplete. I think, again, the residents, businesses, and the 3 of us need to know what departments are operating at what hours and what days. Because we're still doing business. I'm actually getting more emails now than I did leading into this crisis. And I need to be able to know who I can contact to assist our constituents. That's all I'm asking for, is a clearly delineated plan of operating hours per department and having it reflect all departments. Because the proposal we got at around 5 o'clock today does not do that.
Mr. Chairman, you asked me to put this proposal together this morning at 8 a.m. I sent an email out to department heads, asking them for their schedules. As you know, the selectmen, based on advice from the health administrator, myself, and guidance from the state as well as our federal government came forward with concerns about the number of employees being in each department. On the proposal, I tried to expand upon the fact that having several departments with several shifts in them that have 3 or more employees or full staffing at the same time could pose a health problem, especially if one employee gets sick. I think I gave the example of town hall, where if one employee gets sick, there's the potential for all the staff in town hall to get sick, and then you have a complete shutdown of town hall, possibly to 3 or 4 weeks, 3 to 3 weeks.
I'm not asking for more than 1 employee per department. What I am asking for is clear hours for every department. And when we spoke yesterday, you said that you were going to put together the plan, and I asked you for that today. So what I would like, again, is a plan for every department, so not just the 3 board members, but the public understand what is open when and who they can contact if and when they need something. Because, again, there's 2 departments.
That information could be conveyed, no problem.
When do you think we're going to have this, though? Because now we're going into Wednesday. The town was expecting some level of operations to resume, and I don't know what they look like. So if I get asked a question right now, I don't know what answer to give.
Well, what question would you think you'd be asked, Joe?
Well, again.
I mean, seriously, this is a situation where everybody has to use a little bit of common sense. When it says the department will be open regular hours, that to me means 8:30 to 4:30, the regular hours, and somebody will be there to answer a phone call and give an answer to a question.
It doesn't say that, though, Mrs. Smith, for every department. If it said that, I wouldn't be bringing this up. That's what I'm looking for it to say.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, Ms. Riley.
could I make a motion that the intent of the selectmen is that we have 1 person in each office during the regular hours, and that the department heads schedule that, convey that to our town administrator, and he can send that information to us and post it on the website?
When would you like that by, Ms. Riley?
As soon as possible.
So can you just repeat that so everybody understands what the board is voting on right now? Because there seems to continuously be misunderstanding as to what we're asking for.
Make the motion that our intent is to have 1 person in each, a minimum of 1 person in each office, and that the department heads schedule that, and that they convey that information working with the town administrator, and then he send us that schedule and post it on the website so that everyone will know.
And so that will be 8:30 to 4:30 Monday to Thursday, and 8:30 to noon on Friday. Is that what you're proposing?
If that's possible, if there's an office that can't do that for some reason, they coordinate so another office will pick up their phone calls.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to point out there are some departments, such as the Park and Rec Department, that because of the situation, a lot of their programming has been canceled, or the accounting department, where right now you only have 1 person in the office. Our town accountant is working from home because of his restrictions. So there's unique circumstances for each department.
So what you're saying is you don't think that every department can be manned?
I'm saying that I don't think it's realistic to put a minimum amount of time for each department because of if a scenario comes up. Well, I'll give you an example. We have an employee out in the clerk's office, and they've had to change their entire schedule around based on that employee being out. They've talked about bringing in a temp employee, but that's something that takes time, and then there's other consequences for that as well. So requiring a minimum amount of time when things are changing on a weekly or sometimes daily basis really makes it challenging for the employees, who a lot of them have family at home that they have to worry about. A lot of them are nervous about being in any sort of crowded environment. These are all things that you have to think about, that we all have to think about when we resume normal operations. It's good to have people on staff in the building answering phones and answering emails and having department heads answer emails and being able to work remotely. But because of the unique situation and because of the health emergency that we're in and that we're entering into the peak period, we have to be conscious as leaders of the town about what we require out of our employees.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to withdraw my motion and ask the town administrator what he would recommend.
So how do we move forward then? Because we got a proposal from him today that, quite frankly, as I said, is just insufficient. So Graham, do you think that you can put together a proposal that actually incorporates some of the concerns that I've expressed to you on numerous occasions?
I think going forward, having each department have a set number of hours that are advertised. As the selectmen know, when the original order went into place a week ago today, the situation statewide was very different than it is now. We didn't have the CDC issuing a mask advisory where we do now. So what I think would be best for continuing business in the town, but also being mindful of our employee health, is to let the department heads decide based on how much work they have, how many phone calls they're getting to set schedules.
On what basis, Graham? The point that I'm trying to make, and I feel like it's not being heard, is the public have to have some understanding as to when they might be able to reach somebody. That's not happening right now.
Right, Mr. Chairman, as we've done in the past, we've advertised that the public can reach departments by email, by phone. If there's voicemails that are full, then that information can be conveyed to the department heads that they need to increase their office hours or clear out their voicemails. There might be a technical difficulty with learning or knowing how to delete voicemails, but that information can be conveyed to the public by our websites, by our email lists. We have the police department and fire department, they have email lists. The Parks and Rec department, the senior center, they have email lists. We can put all this information together, pointing people to when the office hours are. But again, it's a very fluid situation, as you often say. So what we have in place one week might change completely at the governor's next press conference if he orders a complete lockdown of the state. I understand having normal operations and allowing residents the knowledge of a predictable schedule, but it's not as easy said than done.
Okay,
Do
so
you have any specific department in mind? Because as I'm reading this, like it says, every department says regular business hours, and that means 8:30 to 4:30. So do you have any specific department?
Mr. Smith, you must have a different one than me, because mine does not for every department say that. So either Mr. Waters sent out two different proposals or something, because the one I have does not say that.
Go ahead, Joe, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, the proposal that I have does not say that. If my proposal said that, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So either we have two different documents, or I don't know what.
Oh, I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, can I propose another scenario?
Go on.
In our building department, the governor mandated that building departments maintain a certain number of hours or certain accessibility to the public. Our building inspector has made himself available on call. Our inspectors, on-call inspectors, electrical and plumbing, have set up where they can go and do critical inspections But what we're seeing is that the number of calls coming into the building department and the workload is a lot less than it would be during regular business when times are ordinary. So another question you have to ask is, do you want employees sitting in town offices when they could be at home in a safer environment?
You know what? Excuse me, Graham. I'm sorry to interrupt, but to me, the safety of the people who are in all the departments, the whole town hall, everybody that we have as employees, their safety comes first. I think this is fine as far as I'm concerned. If people don't know and understand the situation, they make a phone call a second time. I think that I don't know what you have in your hand, Joe, but what I have in my hand, it very clearly says the office will be open Monday through Friday for regular business hours, and that's for the town clerk, it's for the assessors, and it's for the park and rec. They have everybody there. So I don't know what the big deal is.
Okay, so if you want to accept it, then make a motion.
Well, I'll accept it. It is. The operating plan. Go ahead.
I said make a motion if that's what you want to accept.
Well, I will so move that we accept the operating plan that Mr. Waters sent to us today, and I don't have the exact time because it wasn't stamped on my computer. But it gives the whole operating plan, and then it says subject to change based on departmental circumstances, and that's the way I believe it should be.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that motion. I agree with Mrs. Smith that the health and safety of our employees are paramount. As long as there's either an answering machine or someone to answer the phone at town hall, I think that's fine. I think it's extraordinary times and we have to adapt to that, and people need to understand that.
Well, I don't know how it turned to health and safety of employees because I equally share that concern. All I was looking for was clarity on what hours the offices were going to be open. But with that being said, I'll do a roll call. Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Riley?
Yes.
And I vote no. Next step, emergency business COVID-related items. Do you have anything, Mrs. Smith?
No.
Ms. Riley?
No, I do not.
Okay, new business, town meeting and warrant article discussion. Mrs. Smith?
What town meeting are we, what the town meeting? No, I don't have any discussion on that.
Ms. Riley?
Yes, I have 3 articles that I would like to propose for the annual town meeting. I proposed brought them up originally on March 10th at our meeting, and we can take them as separate articles if you want. I'm looking for the board to vote to sponsor these articles on the annual town meeting warrant whenever we happen to have the annual town meeting. Article 1 would state, and I make it as a motion, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the General Court of Massachusetts under the provisions of the Home Rule Amendment to the Massachusetts Constitution for the adoption of a special act which would increase the number of selectmen from 3 to 5 or take any action relative thereto.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then I'd make
Go ahead,
a, I'm sorry, do we have a vote?
That was the vote.
Okay. Secondly, an article to see if the town will vote to assume the operational responsibility of the Raynham Public Library or take any action relative thereto.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Go ahead, Ms. Riley.
Thirdly, to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum not to exceed $12,000 to engage a provider for a code and bylaw codification project or take any action relative thereto.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, anything else, Ms. Riley?
Not under annual town meeting.
Okay, I would propose that we move the May town meeting to June 15th at 7 p.m., consistent with the orders that the governor passed just a few days ago that allows us to move the town meeting without opening it and adjourning it if the warrant hasn't been posted yet. And I've communicated with the moderator, and that would be a date that would work for him.
Okay, now.
I'll make that as a motion.
All right, I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anything else on the town meeting?
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yep.
I just want to let the board know that a draft warrant has been sent to our solicitor for review. It is just a draft.
Who?
I'm sorry?
Who's it been sent to?
Our town attorney. Sorry, using some Rhode Island lingo there.
What?
He wanted what I had on hand so he could start reviewing it, especially since we have 2 citizen petitions that have been submitted. And so any additional warrant articles that need to be submitted, no, that would probably be another thing for discussion if we're setting a deadline for warrant articles.
I would say you should work with the town clerk, the town moderator, and town council and bring us a date next week.
Okay, can do that.
Anything else in the town?
All I have.
Okay.
Not on the town warrant.
Okay. Next is the evaluation of the town administrator. Ms. Riley, you would ask for this to be on?
Yes, this was the date we originally had set, the first meeting in April, and I have prepared my evaluation and I'm ready to give it at this time.
Are you giving it orally?
Yes.
Okay.
Following the form concerning leadership with selectmen, I give Mr. Waters a 5. Comments availability has been excellent. Periodic one-on-one meetings are extremely beneficial, not only providing information, but also in helping formulate ideas, consider alternate views, and determine possible action plans. Mr. Waters facilitated the goal-setting process for the board, which is critical in moving forward, and he does an outstanding job ensuring the board has the information necessary to make decisions. Concerning leadership with employees, a grade of 4 out of 5. This is a very challenging area because not only did Mr. Waters join town government as someone totally new and unknown, but the position is defined by the job description, was also given added responsibilities, which requires adjustments on the part of others. Nevertheless, he is making some very positive steps in the right direction. Concerning leadership in the community, a rating of 5, which is outstanding. Although Mr. Waters has only been serving as town administrator for 6 months, he has made excellent efforts in reaching out to the public, both at the senior center for senior events and in the schools for community events. He also attended a holiday event sponsored by the Park and Recreation Department. Positive comments have been offered by those who have met him and or watched him at televised meetings. Concerning leadership with other governmental facilities and news media, a score of 5, especially during these challenging times with the COVID-19 crisis. Mr. Waters has kept apprised and in contact with other government entities as needed and keeps the board members in the loop by sharing what he learns. He is working with SERPED on the master planning project. He also attended in January the annual conference for the Massachusetts Municipal Association along with our town's treasurer collector. He has collaborated with numerous town boards and committees and with the school district subcommittee on the regional agreement. Although Mr. Waters has not had the occasion to work with the news media, he has scheduled a cable interview, which has been postponed due to COVID-19. And I am actually hoping that we can set up a monthly program such as we do with our superintendents. Concerning organizational management, 5, Mr. Waters has excellent organizational skills. As alluded to earlier, management efforts have been challenging, considering that not only did Mr. Waters step into a position as someone new coming in where everyone else was well established, but the change in the job description and in responsibilities made it all the more challenging. Nonetheless, Mr. Waters has made great progress. His management ability has been tested and proven, especially during this time of unprecedented crisis. Concerning fiscal, a score of 4, Mr. Waters has not been given the responsibility to fully accomplish what is outlined under the points here. According to the job description, the town administrator compiles the budget in conjunction with the finance committee, and he is part of a team that includes the town accountant, treasurer collector, and finance committee that is responsible for managing the financial resources of the town. Working together with the treasurer, collector, and accountant, he has initiated a mid-year financial update for the board and expressed his intent to expand upon the presentation with additional information, including revenue and expense projections and a long-term analysis and discussion on the town's financial health. Overall annual town budget preparations obviously have been delayed due to the COVID-19 crisis. Concerning personnel, a score of 4, Mr. Waters holds regular monthly department head meetings to facilitate cross-departmental communication and awareness to help improve employee communication. He also installed an anonymous employee feedback box for employees in Town Hall. This allows employees to submit ideas, questions, and comments anonymously. As employees begin to take more advantage of this opportunity, communication and morale will continue to rise. Concerning community and economic development, this area is really not addressed in any manner in the job description. Nonetheless, Mr. Waters has attended meetings of the town's Business and Economic Development Commission, as well as obviously our Government Study Committee. Concerning individual qualities, a score of 5. In his brief 6-month tenure with the town thus far, Mr. Waters has exhibited each of the individual qualities that are stated here, including creative, anticipative, innovative, skilled at listening and isolating key points or issues, skilled at verbal and written communication, decision-making process indicates fairness and impartiality, remains flexible, objective, and receptive to suggestions, universally applies common sense, tact, and diplomacy, displays enthusiasm for work, demonstrates integrity and loyalty to the town's best interests. I have been particularly impressed with the grace under fire, tact, and diplomacy he has exhibited when he has been criticized at public meetings, once by a member of another committee and a few times by a member of this board. The town administrator's lengthy and impressive list of accomplishments over the course of the past 6 months is obviously attached. He provided that to us. It is very impressive. I'm hoping that when we do our cable show, we can go into that in detail. And in conclusion, although it has only been 6 months since Mr. Waters was appointed as the town administrator, he has accomplished much and set even more things in motion that will be accomplished over the remainder of his first year on the job. Obviously, the COVID-19 crisis has refocused energies and demanded full attention. Nonetheless, it is through these uncertain times that Mr. Waters has really had to step up and assume more responsibility than he might otherwise. And he has met that challenge head on and done, I believe, a commendable job. Looking forward to the remainder of Mr. Waters' first year with the town of Raynham, I am confident that he will show continued progress and accomplishment, and I base that on what he has demonstrated thus far. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Riley. Mrs. Smith, are you prepared to do yours?
I have all your pages on pages and pages, and I've condensed it. I will attach with all of those pages of evaluation my comments that I am making now, okay?
Sure.
In response to your evaluation sheet, I've prepared a statement to say what I think of Mr. Waters' performance as a town administrator. As far as leadership between selectmen and employees, I have had no issue with the manner in which I have dealt with Mr. Waters. He has kept me informed as necessary, has reported activities as required by his contract. As far as leadership with employees, Mr. Waters came to us not knowing how our past administrators handled this area. His style obviously was different and in the beginning seemed to disturb some. I do believe all has straightened out as everyone has acclimated to each other. If not, this can be a work in progress. He has extended himself to outside departments such as Council on Aging, Park and Recreation, and Schools. All have a good working relationship with him. Graham is connected with committees such as Finance, Capital, and Business and Economic, and has attended meetings to prepare himself for town meeting and budget hearings. Mr. Waters has had his baptism by fire, as we used to say, and during this terrible crisis, I believe he has done his job well. I believe Mr. Waters has proven himself as an individual who will be an asset to our community, and I, for one, give him my vote of confidence to continue as town administrator. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Smith?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I am just pulling up mine now. On leadership with selectmen, I give him a 2. I believe that while Mr. Waters demonstrates availability to the board, oftentimes he appears to favor specific positions and priorities. and in my opinion, he has not consistently ensured that all members receive the same information equitably, leaving certain members without relevant facts. On leadership with employees, I gave him a 2. I said, Mr. Waters has struggled to find ways to gain the confidence and respect of the staff, both department employees and department heads alike. The inability to reach them has inhibited his ability to adequately evaluate their performance and abilities on a consistent basis. Leadership in the community, I did not rate this one because I felt as though it was a shortened review period, and given what we've been dealing with for approximately the past month, I didn't feel it was appropriate to rate him in that position. Leadership with other government entities, I gave him a 4. I said that Mr. Waters has shown a willingness to reach out to departments and staff outside of Town Hall, and his open communication with quasi-town agencies. Continuing expansion on this will be beneficial to the town of Raynham. Organizational management, I gave him a 2. I said, as stated previous, information does not flow evenly on a consistent basis to all selectmen, which does not allow for all members of the board to act with full information. The town administrator also should strive to complete tasks assigned by the board or provide updates as to why a task has not been completed. Fiscal management, I gave him a 4. I said in short time, Mr. Waters has put in place policies that are beneficial for the town, including implementing a mid-year budget report to increase transparency. These activities should continue. Personnel, I gave him a 2. In my opinion, staff morale is at a low point at this time. This member has been contacted by numerous employees who've expressed frustration with the style employed by Mr. Waters, as well as overall feedback about his approach. Community and economic development, I said that I was unable to rate sufficiently at this time. Individual qualities, I gave him a 3. I said Mr. Waters does well in certain areas, such as his ability to communicate, and has demonstrated creativity in certain areas, which should not be diminished. However, of equal importance should be his ability and desire to listen, digest feedback, and implement it more frequently, and demonstrate a consistent ability to understand the impact of what his decisions and recommendations will have on the town, both in the immediate and the long term. And overall, I said, hang on a second, I'm just scrolling. Mr. Waters was hired due to his presentation that exuded a level of openness, desire to avoid politics, and assist the members of the Board of Selectmen in advancing the town's goals and objectives. While at times he has handled assignments with relative ease, such as working with relevant staff to create a mid-year budget report and finishing building updates to Town Hall, he has also demonstrated an inability to handle other objectives with the same ease. On more than one occasion, it has been apparent to this member that not all members have had the same information heading into every meeting, which inhibits the members' ability to perform our key functions. Successful communities and businesses develop a long-range plan that has been carefully crafted, vetted, and implemented before proposing changes. It's what helped Raynham be successful for decades, yet it is what seems to be lacking at times from our town administrator on a regular basis. In order to get back on track, I feel Mr. Waters should refocus his efforts on establishing rapport with staff, understanding the desires of the full Board of Selectmen, ensuring votes to the board are implemented timely and fully, and return to his review of operations and present a plan that is balanced, educated, and data-driven as to areas where the town may be deficient in relative to staffing and operations. Mr. Waters, you didn't get my copy in advance. I don't know if you got the other two. Do you have any questions, comments, or do you want to wait till you have them in hand?
I'd like to wait to have them in hand, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, absolutely. Mrs. Smith, Ms. Riley, anything to add at this time?
Not from me, sir.
No, Mr. Chairman, I delivered my my written copy to the board office this morning.
Great, thank you. Next up is vote to amend the request for technical assistance from the Division of Local Services to add a financial management structure review. My understanding is DLS had communication with our treasurer collector, and the original request we put in, they offered to expand upon that, and this simply allows DLS to offer us additional assistance relative to financial management and our review of our structure. Any questions on this?
No.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. The next one is an item that I had put on here. discussing the extension of the probationary period of our town administrator. Obviously, for approximately the last month, our operations have been extremely altered, which I think not only has been a disservice to the board in conducting a total evaluation, but also to our town administrator. And I believe legally, after speaking with Labor Council, that this is something, if the board wanted to, we could do, which would allow the board to continue our evaluation of the administrator under the probationary period, but also give some more latitude to the town administrator. And I would propose, if we were to move forward with this, we tie it, as we did with the original contract, to prior to the deadline of the next election.
I would make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to not extend the probationary period.
Okay. Do I have a second or any discussion?
Yes, I second that motion. I think we're all very clear in how we feel about anything that Mr. Waters needs any direction on or whatever, that we can do it on a one-to-one basis, and that should be sufficient.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to not extend it. I'm going to do a roll call. Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Riley?
Yes.
I'm going to vote no. Next up is discussion on forming our master plan committee. We received correspondence from Serpent and the planning board with a draft composition of the master plan committee, which to me looks sufficient. The only thing that might be missing is capital planning, and I would say if we can get somebody from capital to participate, that would be beneficial. But I would defer to your input, Ms. Riley, because this has been something that you have been moving on.
If that's the recommendation that we're given, I don't have a problem with that.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, sure. A motion to approve the recommendation.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Thank you. Next up, we have resignation of our animal control officer, Adam Perry. Mr. Perry did resign, I believe, over the weekend, citing business and family needs. Do I have a motion to accept the resignation with regret?
I'll make a motion to accept it with regret.
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that is accepted with regret. That's all we have on the agenda. Do we have any motions?
I would like to make a motion. I actually should have made it when we were talking about the extension of the probationary period, but I'd like to make a motion for a vote of confidence in the work that Mr. Waters is doing as our town administrator.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Okay, roll call, Mrs. Smith.
Present.
Is that a yes?
Oh, yes, I said yes. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Ms. Riley?
Yes.
I hear it.
I'm going to vote no for discussion. I've had some fairly significant concerns over the past couple months that I've made efforts to address with Mr. Waters, and despite numerous requests, I still have projects that are outstanding that I've requested of him that I have not received, and it inhibits my ability to do the job that I was elected by the residents of Raynham to do. My hope is that Mr. Waters will take the feedback I offered tonight and reflect upon that as to ways that he can improve, because his success will in part be Raynham's success. And in my opinion right now, we're not having a ton of success. With that being said, it's a vote of 2-1 to express a vote of confidence in the administrator. Anything else?
Just a motion to approve the warrants as presented and to adjourn with no further, to authorize the town administrator to sign them and to adjourn with no additional business.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Excuse me, Joe?
Yes.
I'm sorry. This is Masha, the town clerk.
Oh, hey, Mark.
I'm sorry. I haven't been on here very long. Could I ask a question? I was just wondering if anything had been in place, if employees are working, which, several of us are because we have to, is there going to be any compensation for them? I mean, as far as the union goes or something like that, or has that been addressed?
Unfortunately, we adjourned, and I don't know if I have the full board on. If you'd like, we can put it on the agenda for next week.
Yes, would you please? Thank you,
Sure,
Joe.
absolutely. I don't want to take on new business if everybody's not here, so.
Sure, yep, I understand.
So we can put it on the agenda for next week.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.